Welcome back to the Parsha Show. Parsha Show is a presentation of the Weiss Entertainment Network, 613 on your dial. Parsha's Truma is the Parsha of the Mishkan. In fact, over the next 8 weeks, the Torah is going to talk about the building of the Mishkan. The goal of today's video is to give you a slight overview of what the Mishkan looked like, how it was built. There are many details that will be left out, but to give you a basic understanding and a basic knowledge of what took place, that's the goal of today's video and understanding of Parshas Truma. To begin, according to most Mefarshim, the building of the Mishkan began on the 11th day of Tishrei. What was the significance of the 11th day of Tishrei? That was the day after Moshe Rabbeinu came down from Har Sinai with the second set of Luchot on Yom Kippur as a sign that Hashem had forgiven them for the Chet Egel. From the Chet Egel, they went to the building of the Mishkan. Moshe told Bnei Israel that they have to make donations to the building of the Mishkan. And so many things were donated. They needed gold, silver, copper, linen, wood, aseshitim, cedar wood, different types of things that were used, and all kinds of embroideries and dyes and all kinds of different things that were used to build the Mishkan. And Bnei Israel came forward to the point, as we'll see in Parshas Vayakhel, that Moshe had to tell them to stop giving. And so that's the basic overview of the building of the Mishkan. As we move on to here, we see the pasuk Vasuli Migdash v'Shachanti b'Socham. Pasuk says that Hashem commanded Bnei Israel to build a Mishkan. Here we have a picture of what the Beis Hamikdash looked like, a model of the Beis Hamikdash. Of course, the Mishkan is the prelude to the Beis Hamikdash. But the Torah opens up with the words V'yichuli Truma. Kol Nediv Lev, meaning people volunteered. It was a volunteer donation. It was not a tax. It was not something that was forced upon Bnei Israel. Everyone gave because they wanted to give, and it was the response to the building of the Mishkan was overwhelming. But there's one important idea that although we build the Mishkan and although we build a place for Hashem, it's Kechol Hashem Ani Mareh Oscha. It's according to how Hashem wanted it. The Mishkan is based on how Hashem wanted us to build it for Him. The first thing the Torah mentions, the first of the kalim, of the utensils, was the Aron. Here we have the picture of the Aron. And the Aron had many different things. Shalosh Aronos. Now the Mishkan was built by a man named Betzalel and a man named Ahaliav. Now, when Betzalel built the Aron, it says that he used three Aronos. There were three boxes, one inside the other. The big box, there was a bigger one that was made out of gold. In that was placed the wood, and on top of that was placed the gold. So you had gold, wood, and gold. So you had gold on the inside, and you had gold on the outside. And so it was all surrounded by gold. There's a very important message that we have to have gold on the inside and gold on the outside. That when a person lives his life, he has to be just like he shows good midos when he speaks. It also has to be that way from his heart. His heart and his outer appearance has to be the same. A person has to be a bal midos from the inside and from the outside. It says Shnayim Zahav, Echad Mina'etz, right? We said two of the Arons were gold and one was silver. Then it had Hazer Zahav. You can see here it had like a crown around it. Arba Taba'os Zahav. I had four rings, one here, one there, and two on the other side, and then the badim, which was the poles that was used to carry the Aron when they traveled. All of this went into building of the Aron. Then you can see here a little closer look, and then they built the kruvim, with the wings on top. It was an image of a boy and a girl. So Medrash says that when the Jewish people were following Hashem's rule, and keeping the Torah and keeping to the mitzvahs, they would look at each other and they would face it in each other. When Bnei Yisrael would look away from Hashem and not keep the mitzvahs, they would turn away from each other as a sign that Hashem is unhappy with them. So within the Aaron, we had the image of an understanding of the generation and the level of observance of the mitzvahs. After the Aaron, we were commanded to build the Shulchan. The Shulchan was a symbol of royalty. It was the royal table that was made out of gold, and it had bread on it, and it was a real symbol of wealth. In fact, the Medrash says that if a person wanted to become wealthy, they should daven towards the north. Why the north? Because the north was the place where the Shulchan was placed in the Mishkan. So we have, just again, it was covered with gold, and it had a frame around it. There's a mascaret right here. It had again the four rings to carry the badim, and it had plates, and it had different things that were used in building of the shulchan, the karosav and the kapotav, all the different things that you see here, and they would place the lechem hapanim inside of this. Now, the miracle of the lechem hapanim is that it was baked on Friday, and then it was placed in the shulchan each and every Shabbos, and the shift of the Kohanim would take the lechem hapanim and eat it, and miraculously it would stay fresh from week to week, and it was six on one side and six on the other side. The minhag is that when we bake challah, we make six braids, one on each of the challahs. Why six braids? That goes back to the lechem hapanim to remind us of the shulchan and the lechem hapanim. So lechem hapanim again was the symbol of royalty, of wealth, and the Medrash does say that you face north, you have in mind the shulchan, because you want to be part of Hashem's royal table, and you'll be zocha to wealth. And then the Torah tells us about the menorah. Here's a menorah that's been recreated, that's in the old city of Yerushalayim. Again, the miracle of the menorah was that it was one solid piece of gold. They made it out of one solid piece of gold. Very skilled, and it had giviyah, kaftoreh, and fracheh. It was made. Each part had flowers, goblets, knobs. So you see here, like here, if you look closely at it, you can see there's goblets over here and knobs, and there was little flower shapes. That's how the menorah, and it was seven across, and the center was the main candle. In fact, that would be the first one to be filled, and that would be the last one to extinguish. The menorah, the Chazal tell us, was a symbol, the Gemara Menachos, that Hashem's presence rests upon the Jewish people. That was a symbol of the menorah. We know light represents Torah. We know the menorah was the symbol of the victory of Hanukkah, a victory against the Greeks who were trying to get the Jewish people to stop being Jewish. And we lit the menorah as a sign that the light has been rekindled, has been relit, and the Torah and the fire of Torah continues to burn as we go on. Just some other quick things about the Mishkan. You have the different aspects of the Mishkan here. You can tell the courtyard, and you have the beams and the poles. Here you have the Mizbeach HaNechosha, which we'll talk about in a minute. There was fabric, and there was embroidery, and there were symbols of animals on the Mishkan. In the embroidery, there was tremendous amount of beautiful work and weaving and all the different things that went in. It was really, really a tremendous artistic effort, a skilled effort of so many different kinds of people that were necessary to build the Mishkan. And here you have finally the last thing in the parsha is the Mizbeach HaNechosha. Right here, if you look closely at the picture, you see the fire coming up. This is where they burnt the korbanos. This was outside of the Mishkan. It stood right outside the Mishkan. It was not in the same room as the menorah and the shulchan, and the other Mizbeach, which they burnt inside. That comes in next week's parsha. It had all the different. The Mizbeach had pots and shovels, sirosav, yaim, misrakotav, kevis. It had a ramp that went up to the Mizbeach. It was made out of copper, and this was stood outside, and this was used for the korbanos. that's the basic overview of Parshas Truma. There's so much more going on here, but one of the things that's amazes is the fact that it there was so much skill that was necessary, and with Hashem's help, the Mishkan really came out as not just a work of art, but an incredible work of so many different kind of skilled people. And this is just, again, as I said at the beginning, this was just a basic overview. Have a good Shabbos, everyone. We'll stop here, and we will continue to talk about the Mishkan over the next several weeks.